Hello, Will back at it with another video. Great to see you. Excited to see you today. I got some thoughts, some questions. As always, I'm Will. Hi, guy who's 30, English chap from the UK. Love to share my thoughts. Love to hear what you guys think. But I'm going to share some thoughts today. This is my open-ended question for the day that I'm going to reflect upon. What is meaning going to look like in a post-AI world? Okay, this is something I've been thinking about a lot because I guess to draw the initial box around this question, I am thinking that for a lot of people, the kind of structure that we're given, how life's supposed to go, is you get a job and you do that for a while, and there's a degree of meaning in that, right? Like that's your purpose, that's your meaning, that's when you get out of bed. For a lot of people, this is true, right? But I guess with the rising automation, a lot of the unemployment that's kind of happening for a lot of people, especially younger people who haven't gotten to industries yet, it's like, what is that even going to look like, right? And I guess I'm really thinking here, like, meaning needs to be, like, really thought up in a broader way. Because I think, in my experience, a lot of people are like, I get either, like, they get meaning really far out of work or they get meaning really into work. I actually find it really hard to find something that gets a little bit of meaning out of work and a little bit of meaning out of other things. And it's an interesting idea, I think, here. Like, what is meaning going to look like in a post-AI world? Because I think a lot of people that don't have work now or can't find work really don't feel enough. Like, maybe I'm a little bit in that bracket. I get a lot of meaning out of a lot of things I do, but, you know, being able to provide, being able to financially contribute to things really feels good and pretty great, and something that I have enjoyed being able to do the past few years. But my situation has changed, right? Which it might have for a lot of you. In this environment we find ourselves in, where like change is happening, right? And we have to adapt to that change. Okay, so, you know, what is meaning, first of all? So I guess to get a little bit existential, meaning can be a lot of different things for different people, but for me, meaning is having feeling like you're like a person that does a thing, and that's like your thing you do. Okay, you do, and that might be a creative pursuit, that might be a business, that might be a job, that might be a duty to family, that might be training for a marathon, that might be becoming an esports professional, that might be becoming really good at fishing. It could be a lot of things, okay? And I think meaning is going to have to look really different in a post-AI world. So right now I really feel like AI, in my opinion, it's not actually the technology itself that I'm specifically worried about. I'm more worried about how people will take their assumption of the technology to the nth degree, and this will result in like business leaders doing mass layoffs, stuff like that, because they think it's gonna change everything. And like, I don't know, like a lot of AI still's really buggy in my experience, still shoots out inaccurate stuff, still shoots out bizarre responses to stuff sometimes. So I'm still in the current iteration of GPT-4, which is the most publicly available one. 5 has been underwhelming apparently. Like, you know, it's okay. It's like useful for giving you rough drafts of things sometimes to maybe improve efficiency in certain tasks. Helpful for like, yeah, making drafts of stuff. I know there's a whole art, people say, to asking AI questions, and you know, you can certainly engage with image generators to create different kinds of art that you might not have been able to previously if you hadn't been able to engage in art. And I think that there's like applications for this technology, especially in the medical field. But is that giving meaning to us as people? You know, some might argue that the great innovations of the past made certain workers obsolete, and that was like ultimately in the grand scheme of things a good thing. But like, there was always kind of like a human touch to a lot of this work, right? And I think a lot of us emotionally really connect with the idea of a human touch. I think it's why a lot of like stores and cafes always put like homemade out the window. Like, this is our coffees homemade, or our cakes are homemade, or sandwiches are homemade, right? Like, we all really connect with that idea emotionally of like human hands connecting with it, and there being a degree of care in it. And I guess I feel a lot of the pushback comes from an emotional place for a lot of people that are like, hey, I want people to make things because that's good for everyone, right? And I think that comes from a point of view of like meaning, right? Because if we're not like what we are in terms of what we do, then what are we? If AI automates everything, what are we? What do we do? What is the point in us, right? And that's a scary place existentially to be, right? I think something we need to think about here when I think about a post-AI world, and I wanted to find that a little more. What I mean by post-AI world is a world where AI has got to its computational level where it's actually like consistently useful on the first round, right? So post-AI I'm meaning like after like the race to get AI to a position where it's like powerful enough to like consistently be reliable. Okay. I don't know if we'll ever get there given how the models are currently, and that they're literally just trying to pump more juice into the models instead of like huge innovations on the front of a lot of these machine learning models. But that remains to be seen. There might be further optimizations down the road somewhere that I know nothing about, but this is just a hypothetical. I think meaning is gonna have to... I think for this even to be like a good future, because like I'm not optimistic, I'm naturally skeptical of large organizations and concentrations of power, and I feel that AI will ultimately increase wealth inequality. I think AI will ultimately increase the resources that the haves have and the have-nots do not have. And I think, like, I guess the optimist in me is kind of like, well, if we democratize the ability to produce a lot of, decentralize the ability to like maybe produce art, produce coherently written work, to reduce the necessity to build these skills for some people, like it certainly might enable people and reduce the amount of labor we have to do, and ultimately lead to a society where we have more leisure time. But that doesn't feel like that's going to happen to me, because like the people that are profiting from it are the people that have a vested interest to increase and centralize their power more, right? Sam Altman of OpenAI, like that dude doesn't exactly, he's not like talking about wealth inequality, he's not talking about universal basic incomes that much from what I've heard. I think the only way a healthy post-AI world would work would be universal basic income. You would have to distribute resources in a healthy way, and how our markets are set up right now, I feel, is set up to centralize a lot more power, right? Companies look to increase quarterly profits because that's what companies are supposed to do. Greed is good, right? And I feel that has led to the situation that we're in, where people struggle to get jobs, and normal people, I think I look at Gen Z, I feel sorry for Gen Z, man. It sucks. I'm like in the middle between Gen Z and millennials, a very young millennial here, and it's rough out there. It's rough finding work, especially you're not in like a big central city hub. It might be different in cities. It might be harder, right? Costs are higher there in the UK anyway. But with AI, I think we're very far away from like having systems that serve us and having the income distribution to have this all healthily make sense. So like, what is meaning going to look like? I think it's going to have to come from us. I think, I think about Carl Rogers and Maslow here because I'm always studying counseling, and like we have to figure out new ways to self-actualize, right? Like Self-actualization is like getting in the flow state, becoming really present and really enjoying what we're doing. I think that's going to look very different in the future, and that might not be in work, that might be in leisure. I hope, but will that be just for a certain class of people, and there will be an underclass of people that are destitute? That feels more likely to me. But I think regardless of the hardships we'll face, we're going to have to find meaning in each other. We're going to have to connect. We're going to have to push against the mantra of more information, better. If you're watching this video right now, go and like talk to somebody, literally anyone. Connect with people, because that's like what a post AI world's going to look like. That's what's going to be unique for us as individuals. Be us, whatever we are, imperfect and all. And our imperfections are actually like what essentially make us human, and are what are going to contribute to us having meaning in a post AI world. Like accepting our imperfections and finding meaning in iterating on said imperfections in any way. It might be just trying to have a fun party. It might just be trying to do something a little bit different for once. It might be shaking up the routine. It might be becoming engaged in stuff you care about, or maybe just trying something new, or riding the waves sometimes and like feeling run down. Like that sucks, but like that's okay too. So those are some of my thoughts on what meaning could look like in a post-AI world. You've been wonderful. I've been Will. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.